I was drinking my morning coffee when the email arrived. You have 47 new DNA matches. My hand froze halfway to my mouth. 47? I'd only taken the Ancestry test 3 weeks ago, hoping to find maybe a second cousin or trace my Italian roots. I clicked the link and watched my laptop screen fill with names. Close family. First cousins. Half-siblings. The words blurred together as I scrolled down, down, down. 23 women. 24 men. All living in Chicago. All my age, give or take 5 years. All strangers. My phone slipped from my hand and clattered against the kitchen table. This wasn't possible. My parents were James and Linda Morrison, married for 35 years, living in the same house in Lincoln Park where I grew up. No affairs. No secrets. Just two accountants who loved tax season and Sunday crosswords. Except I knew that wasn't the complete truth. Mom had told me years ago that I was conceived through a fertility clinic. She'd struggled to get pregnant in her 30s, and after 4 miscarriages, they turned to Chicago Reproductive Health Center in 1986. A donor. Anonymous. Carefully screened. That's what she'd said. One donor. Not 47 siblings worth. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the family tree Ancestry had generated. Little circles connected by lines, spreading out like a spider web. Every single one of these people shared 25% of my DNA. Every single one had a mother who'd lived in Chicago in the mid-80s. And when I clicked on their profiles, searching for any information they'd made public, I saw something that made my stomach drop. 3 of them had listed their birth clinics in their family stories. Chicago Reproductive Health Center. The same place my mother had gone. The same doctor. I didn't call Mom right away. Instead, I started messaging my DNA matches, my fingers shaking as I typed the same message over and over. Hi, this is going to sound strange, but was your mother a patient at Chicago Reproductive Health Center in the 1980s? The responses came fast. Yes. How did you know? Oh my God, mine too. Wait, are you seeing what I'm seeing? I have 46 half-siblings. This can't be real. Within 2 hours, I'd created a private Facebook group. Within 6 hours, 39 of my DNA matches had joined. Within 12 hours, we'd all confirmed the same impossible truth. Our mothers had all used the same fertility clinic. They'd all been treated by the same doctor, Dr. Richard Kellerman. That night, I drove to my parents' house in Lincoln Park. Mom was in the kitchen making her famous lasagna, the smell of garlic and basil filling the air like it had my entire childhood. Dad sat at the table reading the Tribune, his reading glasses perched on his nose. Normal. Safe. About to shatter. Mom, I need to ask you something about Dr. Kellerman. She didn't turn around, but her hands stopped moving. The wooden spoon she'd been using to stir the sauce hung in the air, frozen. What about him? I pulled out my phone and showed her the Ancestry results. 47 matches. All half-siblings. All Chicago. All born between 1986 and 1991. Her face went white. The spoon clattered into the pot, splashing red sauce across the stovetop. That's not possible, she whispered. Dad stood up, moving to her side. Linda, what's going on? I have 47 half-siblings, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Their mothers all went to Chicago Reproductive Health Center. They were all treated by Dr. Kellerman. Mom, I don't think the donor was anonymous. I think it was him. Mom's legs gave out. Dad caught her, guiding her into a chair, his face confused and frightened. She stared at the phone screen like it was a snake. He promised us, she said finally. He promised the donors were medical students from Northwestern. Brilliant, healthy, thoroughly screened. He said we'd never know who they were, and they'd never know about you. That was the agreement. Her voice cracked. We trusted him. After everything we'd been through, all the miscarriages, all the heartbreak, he said he could help us. And he did. On the first try. I got pregnant with you on the first try. Because he used fresh sperm instead of frozen, I said quietly. His own. Mom, he had complete control. No donor records, no paper trail, no way to trace it back to him. Until now. Dad's face had gone red, his hands clenched into fists. That son of a bitch. That goddamn son of a bitch. We paid him $20,000. We trusted him with our family, with our future, and he couldn't finish. Mom was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I was so grateful to him. When you were born, I sent him a Christmas card every year for a decade. I told everyone he was a miracle worker. And the whole time he knew. He watched me raise his child and never said a word. Over the next 2 weeks, our Facebook group exploded. We found 63 siblings. 63 people born from Dr. Kellerman's deception, scattered across Chicago's north side like seeds from a poison tree. We were teachers and lawyers and musicians and nurses. We had families of our own, lives we'd built on a foundation of lies. And we were angry. A woman named Claire organized our first meeting. She was 41, a corporate attorney with Dr. Kellerman's sharp cheekbones and intense green eyes. She'd rented out a community center in Wrigleyville, and on a cold Saturday in March, 42 of us showed up. The room was silent as we filed in, studying each other's faces, searching for similarities. We all had them. The same nose, the same height, the same nervous habit of running our hands through our hair when we were thinking. It was like looking into 41 distorted mirrors. Show of hands, Claire said once everyone had settled. How many of your mothers were told they were using an anonymous donor from Northwestern's medical school? Every hand went up. How many got pregnant on the first or second try? Every hand stayed up. How many were treated exclusively by Dr. Kellerman? No other doctors involved in the procedure? Every hand remained raised, and the room began to buzz with anger. A man named Marcus stood up. He was a high school history teacher, 38 years old, with the same green eyes as Claire. I did some digging. Dr. Kellerman ran Chicago Reproductive Health Center from 1983 to 1998. He was the only fertility specialist there for the first 10 years. After 1993, he brought in 2 other doctors, but he kept his own patient list separate. Complete control over who saw what. I found something else, said a woman named Jennifer. She was a data analyst, and she'd brought her laptop. She pulled up a spreadsheet that made my blood run cold. I cross-referenced our birth dates with the clinic's success rates, which are public record. In years when Dr. Kellerman performed most of the procedures, the clinic had a 91% success rate. When other doctors handled cases, it dropped to 62%. That's not normal variance. That's evidence. Claire nodded. I've already contacted 3 law firms that specialize in medical malpractice and fraud. 2 of them want to take our case. This isn't just about money. This is about stripping him of everything he built on our mother's violation. Is he still alive? Someone asked from the back. Very much so, Marcus said. He's 76 years old, living in a mansion in Kenilworth. Retired in 1998 with full honors from the medical community. He's been married 3 times, has 5 legitimate children, and apparently spends his days golfing at the country club. The rage in the room was palpable. Our mothers had been violated. We'd been conceived through deception. And Dr. Kellerman was living in luxury, completely untouched by consequences. We need to confront him, I said, surprising myself. Before we go public, before we file lawsuits, we need to look him in the eye and ask him why. Claire shook her head. That's a terrible idea legally. Anything he says could be used against us later if he claims coercion or, I don't care about legally, I interrupted. I care about answers. Don't you want to know why he did this? What kind of person systematically deceives hundreds of people? The room fell silent. Finally, Jennifer spoke up. I want to know. I've spent my whole life wondering about my biological father, and now I know he's a monster. But I still want to hear him say it. One by one, hands went up. 37 of us voted to confront Dr. Kellerman before taking legal action. Claire sighed, but didn't argue. She knew this wasn't about logic. It was about closure. We found Dr. Kellerman at the Sunset Ridge Country Club on a Thursday afternoon. Marcus had called ahead pretending to be interested in membership, and the receptionist had cheerfully confirmed that Dr. Kellerman would be finishing his golf game around 3. 12 of us went. We'd voted to keep the group small, less overwhelming, more likely to get real answers. I drove with Claire and Marcus, my heart pounding the entire way north on the Edens Expressway. Kenilworth was old money and privilege, with massive homes hidden behind perfect hedges. The country club looked like something from a movie, all white columns and manicured lawns. We waited in the parking lot, watching golfers finish their rounds. Then we saw him. Tall, silver-haired, wearing expensive golf clothes and laughing with 3 other men his age. He looked healthy, happy, completely unburdened by guilt. "That's him," Claire said quietly. "That's the man who violated our mothers." We approached as a group, and Dr. Kellerman's smile faded when he saw us. Maybe it was the way we moved together, or maybe he recognized his own features reflected back in 12 different faces. His golf buddies excused themselves quickly, sensing trouble. "Dr. Kellerman," Claire said, "we need to talk to you about Chicago Reproductive Health Center." His face went carefully blank. "I'm retired. If you need medical records, you'll have to contact the practice that bought out my clinic." "We don't need medical records," Marcus said. "We need you to explain why you used your own sperm to impregnate our mothers without their knowledge or consent." The color drained from Dr. Kellerman's face. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then he looked around the parking lot, checking for witnesses, and gestured toward his car. "Not here. Follow me." We followed his Mercedes to a park 3 blocks away, empty on a weekday afternoon. He parked under a massive oak tree and got out slowly, moving like a man walking to his execution. "How many of you are there?" he asked. 63 confirmed, I said. "But the number keeps growing." He closed his eyes. "DNA testing. I knew it would happen eventually. Technology always catches up." "That's all you have to say?" Jennifer's voice shook with rage. "You knew you'd get caught someday, so you just lived your life and waited?" Dr. Kellerman opened his eyes and looked at us, really looked at us. "What do you want? An apology? An explanation? Money?" "We want the truth," Claire said. "We want to understand why a respected doctor would violate the trust of hundreds of patients." He laughed, bitter and harsh. "You want to understand? Fine. I'll tell you exactly why I did it." He leaned against his car, and suddenly he looked every one of his 76 years. "I started the clinic in 1983 with noble intentions. I wanted to help families. But the donor system was a nightmare. Unreliable medical students who donate once and disappear. Frozen sperm with low success rates. Women going through cycle after cycle, spending their savings, destroying their bodies with hormones, all for a 30% chance of success." "So you decided to play God," Marcus said. "I decided to actually help them," Dr. Kellerman snapped. "Do you know what my success rate was? 91%. Do you know how many women I saved from years of heartbreak? How many families exist because of me? Families built on lies," I said. "Children who don't know their real genetic history, their medical background, their heritage. You stole that from us." "I gave you life," he shot back. "Your mothers came to me desperate and broken. I gave them what they wanted most in the world. I gave them you. Would you rather not exist?" The question hung in the air like poison. Claire stepped forward, her lawyer voice cold and precise. "You violated medical ethics. You committed fraud. You used your position of power to assault women who trusted you. And you did it for 16 years, fathering at least 63 children without consent. That's not heroism, Dr. Kellerman. That's sociopathy." His face hardened. Donor anonymity was standard practice. Those women signed consent forms agreeing they'd never know the donor's identity. The only difference is the donor was me instead of some random medical student. If anything, they should be grateful. I'm highly educated, from excellent genetic stock, no family history of disease. "They should be grateful," Jennifer repeated, her voice dangerously quiet. "You think our mothers should be grateful that you violated them?" "I helped them," he insisted. "Every single one of them got exactly what they wanted. A healthy baby. A family. What does it matter whose sperm I used?" "It matters because it wasn't your choice to make," I said. "It matters because consent isn't just a signature on a form. It's about truth, about honesty, about respecting someone enough to let them make informed decisions about their own body. Dr. Kellerman waved his hand dismissively. You're all being dramatic. This is a manufactured crisis because of some genetic testing fad. In 10 years, no one will care about this. We're filing a class action lawsuit, Claire said, for fraud, medical malpractice, and battery. We're going to the medical board, the state attorney general, and the press. By the time we're done, everyone will know exactly what you are. For the first time, fear flickered across his face. You can't prove anything. The clinic's records were digitized, and then the originals were destroyed in 2005. You have no documentation, no witnesses, just DNA tests that show biological relationships. That's not evidence of wrongdoing. Marcus smiled, and it wasn't pleasant. Actually, we found someone. Linda Chen. She was a nurse at your clinic from 1985 to 1994. She's willing to testify that you always handled the procedures alone, that you sent staff out of the room during preparations, that you had access to all donor samples. She's willing to testify that she reported her concerns to the clinic administrator in 1993 and was fired for it. Dr. Kellerman's face went gray. Linda's testimony, combined with DNA evidence from 63 plaintiffs, combined with statistical analysis of your success rates, combined with testimony from our mothers about what they were told versus what actually happened? That's more than enough, Claire said. You're going to lose everything. Your reputation, your money, your medical license. Everything you built on our mother's violation. I'm 76 years old, he said, his voice shaking now. I have grandchildren. I did good work for decades. I helped hundreds of families. This will destroy them too. Then you should have thought of that before you decided to father 63 secret children, I said. We left him standing in the park, a broken old man finally facing consequences. It felt hollow, not triumphant. Justice doesn't erase harm. The lawsuit took 18 months. Claire led the legal team with precision and rage, building a case so airtight that Dr. Kellerman's lawyers advised him to settle. The medical board moved faster. Once our story went public through a Tribune investigation that Jennifer helped coordinate, they suspended Dr. Kellerman's medical license pending a full ethics review. The review took 4 months and resulted in permanent revocation. A man who'd practiced medicine for 40 years lost the right to call himself a doctor. The settlement was substantial. Dr. Kellerman paid out $8.7 million, divided among 68 plaintiffs. By the time the case closed, we'd found 5 more siblings. The money came from selling his Kenilworth mansion, liquidating his retirement accounts, and establishing a payment plan from his remaining assets. He kept 1 small condo, and enough to live on. Everything else went to the people he'd violated. But the money was never the point. The point was seeing his name in headlines, his crimes exposed, his legacy destroyed. The point was watching other states pass laws requiring genetic testing of all donor materials, mandatory reporting of donor offspring numbers, and criminal penalties for doctors who use their own genetic material without explicit written consent. Dr. Kellerman's actions led to federal legislation. The Fertility Fraud Prevention Act passed in 2024, making what he did a federal crime punishable by up to 20 years in prison. My mother testified at the medical board hearing. She stood in front of the panel and described the vulnerability of infertility, the desperation that makes you trust someone completely, the violation of learning that trust was betrayed in the most intimate way possible. He didn't just lie to me, she said, her voice steady despite the tears on her face. He weaponized my pain. He used my desire for a child to satisfy his own ego, his own need for genetic legacy. And he did it to hundreds of women who trusted him with their bodies, their futures, their families. The room was silent when she finished. 3 of the board members were crying. Dr. Kellerman sat in the corner with his lawyer, staring at the floor, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The board voted unanimously to revoke his license. As we left the hearing, Mom squeezed my hand. Your father, James, he wanted to be here today. But he couldn't face seeing that man after what he did. Dad's my father, I said. Biology doesn't change that. She smiled through her tears. No, it doesn't. But the truth still matters. What Dr. Kellerman stole from us, from all these families, it matters. I kept in touch with my siblings. We created a private online community, not just for us but for our children, our families, the ripple effects of Dr. Kellerman's decisions. Some of us became close friends. Others preferred distance, and that was okay too. Claire organized an annual gathering, a summer picnic in Grant Park where we'd all bring our families, our children who were cousins, our parents who were connected through shared violation. It was strange and beautiful and complicated, this family that shouldn't exist. At the third annual gathering, there were over 200 people. 68 siblings, their partners, their children, and some of the mothers who wanted to meet each other, to share their stories, to find community in their pain. Marcus stood up to give a toast, his 2 daughters playing nearby with Jennifer's son. 3 years ago, most of us didn't know each other existed. We were strangers connected by a crime we didn't understand yet. Today, we're family. Not the family any of us chose, but family nonetheless. He raised his glass. To the truth. To justice. To the mothers who trusted and were betrayed. And to making sure this never happens to anyone else. We drank to that. All of us. Later, as the sun set over the lake, I sat with Claire and Jennifer, watching our siblings scatter across the park. Do you ever wonder what he thinks about? Jennifer asked. Dr. Kellerman. Does he regret it? Does he understand what he did? Claire shook her head. Narcissists don't feel regret. They feel self-pity. He probably thinks we destroyed his life, not that he destroyed ours first. I used to be so angry, I said. For months after we found out, I was just consumed with rage. But now I mostly feel sad. Sad for our mothers. Sad for the lie we all lived. Sad that one man's ego created this massive, complicated thing that we all have to carry. At least we're carrying it together, Jennifer said. That was true. We hadn't chosen this burden, but we'd chosen each other. We'd chosen truth over comfortable lies. We'd chosen to fight instead of staying silent. And we'd won. Not completely. You can't undo violation. You can't unknow the truth. But we'd taken Dr. Kellerman's secret and turned it into our strength. We'd turned his crime into legislation that would protect future families. We'd turned his legacy of deception into a legacy of accountability. Dr. Kellerman died 2 years later, age 78, in the small condo he'd moved to after losing everything. His obituary mentioned his pioneering work in reproductive medicine, but also his disgrace. The comments section filled with our stories, our mother's testimonies, the truth he tried to bury. I didn't go to his funeral. Neither did most of my siblings. He wasn't our father. He was just a man who committed a crime and called it medicine, who used his power to satisfy his ego, who betrayed hundreds of people who trusted him. But his death didn't close the chapter. We still exist, all 68 of us and counting. We still carry his DNA. We still have to explain to our children why they have 67 aunts and uncles they've never met. We still have to navigate the complicated reality of a family built on violation. My daughter is 8 now, the same age I was when I stopped believing in simple stories. She knows she has a lot of aunts and uncles, that Grandma Linda has a complicated past, that family trees sometimes look more like family forests. When she's older, I'll tell her the whole truth. About Dr. Kellerman, about the lawsuit, about how her existence is the result of a crime her grandmother didn't even know was happening. But I'll also tell her about Claire's fierce advocacy, about Marcus's kindness, about Jennifer's strength. I'll tell her that we took something horrible and built something meaningful from it. That we refused to be ashamed of our origins. That we transformed a legacy of lies into a movement for truth. Because that's what we did. We didn't just sue Dr. Kellerman. We changed the law. We protected future families. We created community from violation. And we proved that the truth, no matter how painful, is always better than a comfortable lie.